Christian mothers online might be the most insufferable species known to man. What is up, winning team? And here I am again, sharing my thoughts, having taken a nice big deep dive into the cesspool that is social media. And you know what? I really enjoy it because it actually really helps me silence the voice of the enemy in my head when I'm giving myself a hard time about not being better to the Lord and not being more reliable and all this stuff. Because then I see people just confidently on the internet doing wild things. But there's one situation I do want to talk about where I actually very much side with this woman, and it goes to show why I don't want to have kids. We're actually going to start with that, and then we'll get to the juicy bad stories afterwards, right? So there was this woman who took to the internet because her 4-year-old son was diagnosed with a particular form of cancer, right? And the doctors were saying, and this is where I have a problem, why I'm like, Christians, we don't have rights. We're just as slaves as everybody else. So she basically, the doctors were saying, we think he needs to get chemo. He needs to get chemo right now. And she was like, hey, I've been doing my own research. And this is again where I'm like, I love how people pick and choose when you're responsible for something and when you're not. Because people will say things like, oh, well, you chose to have children. It's your rights, your parent. You should choose whatever that you want to do. Right. But then on the flip side, we'll also decide times where somebody else is the one who's more qualified for the child that they didn't have. This is one of those scenarios where I'm like, this could never happen to me because, this could never happen to me. So anyway, they want to do all this treatment, and when she looks into the treatment, and she's not wrong, and this is something that no one talks about enough, and I say this as somebody who's deeply heavy into science. I studied chemistry, whatever, and there was a reason I didn't go into pharmaceutical science, right? Because I think that a lot of it's a business, and again, they're going to make more money off of us actually being sick. This is why the FDA is the perfect little demonic duo over there. And there's a lot of things ethically I couldn't get behind, because I can't get behind making medication in this country, for example, that's being, or even, somewhere like the States, that's being sold to people for the equivalent of of just getting another whole liver altogether, right? Literally having to sell body parts, pounds of flesh. But then because they go and sell it somewhere else, they go and make it cheap because they can. So it's little things like that. But then it's also stories like this where I could never put myself in this position as a physician. They're telling her, if you don't take this, what we're saying you need to do, we're going to call CPS. I have such a problem with this, right? Because this is one time where I actually respect someone, a Christian person, standing up for their morals, but then not just doing the classic of, oh, I can't wait to tell you guys this one next. The couple that was talking, they again went back to that scripture with Jacob and having children with both Rachel and Leah and their servants, and they were using that as a way to discuss contraception, because it's another thing Christians are really weird about. And I'm like, it's really not that deep. I think God would prefer for there not to be a child that's unwanted, that's not prepared for, than he would you taking contraception. I also don't think contraception is great, but I also think we're all living under the curses of Adam and Eve. So the real solution, we haven't reached it yet. And in the interim, so what? I'm not on contraception. I have my own reasons. I've given them before. And it's not because God put it in my heart. It's because I don't like the idea, again, of all these extra hormones just floating around my body, some pharmaceuticals. I don't like that. I've been in a lab. I've seen what labs are like. I don't like it. Anyway, we'll come back to those guys in a minute. So that's the long and short of it. So they're threatening to take her kid away. Now, mind you, right, this 4-year-old boy, one of the main reasons she doesn't want to go for this invasive surgery, if he doesn't have to, this invasive chemo, is because he might lose his ability to walk, and he might suffer from a lot of disabilities. And so she was like, I feel like in this scenario, I want to let God do his thing. Now, I've had long thoughts about stuff like this because I had a miscarriage, right? So I'm like, I've thought a lot about how do I feel about what happened? What would I do in the situation that I'm pregnant? This is why I wouldn't even want to go to the hospital if I was pregnant, because to be honest, I don't want to be told things to add negativity into my pregnancy. I don't want to be told, oh, we're worried about this. Listen, let the pregnancy be what it is, and whatever happens, I'm going to deal with it. Because again, it's this thing of the West and of the world now, where we're trying so hard to catch things out, but then sometimes I feel like you're changing the atmosphere. You're changing the atmosphere, and and like I say, as we know, things like stress, they affect pregnant women. So the arguments could always be, but anyway. and also breast milk because of the cortisol. Anyway, so she's like, I don't know, I want to let God. I've been hearing about other treatments I want to try. Why don't I have other options? And it's the fact that a lot of people think, who the hell is the doctor? Sorry, to tell me what I'm doing with my child. This is why I don't want to have kids. This is exactly the stuff I worry about. As soon as that child leaves my body, all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of people who seem to have rights and entitlements to what happens with said child that they didn't have, that they were not a part of the decision making. And I can actually lose the child and lose rights to my children because of what the freaking world thinks. From a freaking doctor who I don't know. I don't know you, doctor. I don't know where you went to school. I don't know what your qualifications are. I don't even know if you've checked the other options or if you're just ticking off the checkbox list of the last thing that you've been told to do while you're parroting what was smashed into your brain at med school. So that ticked me right off. In the same way, I'll be upset at somebody telling another mother, like in the same situation, you don't have to do the chemo. God wouldn't want you to do that. It's up to her. She's the one. Like, this is what I don't get. If you're the one who has the child, how is how is it only not the two people who had said child whose opinions matter? And this is what I mean again. When I say sometimes, it's like, you made those decisions, whatever. I'm even someone who says that. But then when the world decides, oh, no, we get to choose now. This is why I have a problem with all this CPS stuff. Because I'm like, you could call Child Protective Services, right, for a child because it's something that's happening at home. But a lot of times, actually, the actual abandonment of being away from the parent or being torn apart from their family can cause a lot of issues as well. Where sometimes even with kids, I'm like, I don't know that them being away from their parents, thrown into the system where God knows what happens. We've heard so many bad stories. I don't know that that's any less bad than where they are right now. And I don't know why we can't just maybe help the parents rather than just as soon as we can tear them away, the child away, when we can't even guarantee, because you can't tell me I'm guaranteed anything, just like the doctor can't guarantee anything. So how is she any wrong to then choose the faith option? As far as I'm concerned, faith and science, if you are not sure about either, they're just as valuable as each other, because we're even being proven now more and more over time. We know less and less and less. That's why we're always having these big scientific breakthroughs. So how is she any different to the scientists who probably never did any actual physical research? They just went to med school and they were taught this is what you do if this person has this. So anyways, there was that woman. Now I'm on her side in this because, again, who has to face God on Judgment Day? This is why I'm saying Christian people annoy me. Who has to face God? She does. She does. She's the one who's going to stand before the Lord, and then she's going to be there, and God's going to be like, well, what happened with your child? Well, the doctors forced me, and the doctor said I had to, or I was going to lose the baby. Yeah, we're slaves. We're slaves. But let's get to this couple, because this one's a bit juicy. Because it reminds me of something I've been saying. And every time I make this joke, I'm like, am I pushing this joke too much? But like I said in my previous video, this world doesn't disappoint in being disappointing. So there's a couple and they're on like kid number 5. These are the women I absolutely can't stand, right? And she's doing this whole video. You guys can tell I really took a deep dive into the cesspool, right? I either like cry of laughter for hours or I literally like just feel like, God, what we need you, like what we're going to do. Her and her husband have been using the pull-out method, right? Having babies, and they're on baby number 6. Now, I think, again, we have to be more selfless in the way that we look at certain things, because sometimes we're doing something and we want to feel noble, but we don't think about the people involved. So like this woman, for example, she's pregnant, I think, with her 6th kid. And now on the internet forever, the kid's going to know that technically they weren't wanted and the whole world is going to be able to see this, right? But she's obviously, I nearly tripped coming off this bench. She's obviously trying to be super gracious about it. And, be like, sometime maybe we weren't planning to have another child, but God was planning to have another child. And I'm just like, you know what? Can we stop repackaging this? Like, as parents, like, can the parents stop doing this repackaging? Be honest. I think kids would actually appreciate it more, right? Not saying I hate you and not going to the other extreme. It's me getting right back to stand on the bench just after I literally nearly sprained my ankle coming off of it. And that's on human nature, about not learning. But it's nice here because I can, like, the sun is right in front of my face and I'm too short for it to be hitting my face like this if I'm standing on the ground. Anyway, I just must look so strange as this random girl just standing on a bench talking to her phone, but nobody's out here. So anyway, and so yeah, we need to stop doing that because I feel like it's worse almost, I feel like, for kids, right? And bearing in mind, whenever I'm working with children, I work with them and I spend a lot of time around them, more than probably any other adult in their life. excluding perhaps their parents, yeah? So when I then meet the people who brought them into the world, things start to click, right? Things start to click because you're like, oh, this person is behaving in this kind of way. I see it now, like the kids, right? Because a lot of them, you can tell, the reason they don't care, the reason they're not focused is because they feel unwanted and they feel like, whatever. So anyway, so when she's doing all of this, I was like, that's just such ugly behavior because it's actually obvious. And doing the fake gracious thing, this is what I can't stand about the Christian mums of today, especially on social media. The fake gracious, like, oh, I'm just a good person and I'm just righteous and I'm just this, because I'm dealing with the situation in this way. Like sometimes it's helpful to be honest, with yourself because like in this scenario, you guys are on baby number 6 and you're not interested in, it was clear you weren't planning on having any more kids. Being gracious about it isn't helping anybody. It's bringing more kids into the world. It's bringing in more kids. And as somebody else even said, and this is something you see very commonly with the Christian mums on social media, and just Christian mums in general, just social media is just bringing a light to a lot of things that were already happening. And this is why I feel like my generation, right, they were not understood. And it's because we're not just hearing of one-off stories because everybody's sweeping things under the carpet. We have access to real people with real life stories where they're giving real information. There was a strange man just standing there, giving real information about their situations, and it's not being hidden anymore. And the only reason they think they can get away with it is because that's what everybody's been getting away with it. We just didn't have the access to it before. So anyways, they're having this conversation, and what was I going to say? Yeah, this righteous, like, oh, and so I was just like, at this point, just do the friggin' contraception and just deal with having to explain yourself to God on Judgment Day. Like, just deal with it. Because what's worse, oh yeah, somebody else said this, and this is a common thing I've thought about as well when people because I used to want to have 9 kids, right, when I was like 16. A lot of people, when they have thoughts like that, yeah, and a lot of these Christian women, they're like, yeah, but it's fine, because then the older ones are going to be able to help with the younger ones. And it's like, who the frick signed up for that? But anyway, that's what I'm saying. It sounds so noble, but when you look at it, it's deeply selfish because realistically speaking, you want to be seen as this loving, good Christian woman, right? And it's actually making us look bad. And the rest of us have to deal with it. This is why I have to speak about it, because the rest of us then have to deal with all these bad tropes of experiences people have had where they found hypocrisies because you were all busy trying to look like these good and noble, righteous women. Right? Anyways, they end up having a sit-down conversation where they bring up the story about Jacob, which you guys know in the Bible. And again, this is how I can tell people just heard something somewhere and didn't really sit and think about it. Hence why you'll notice I bring up the same Bible stories quite a lot because there's so much to unpack with all of them that you could read the same scripture for the rest of your life and there'll be more and more wisdom dropped about it over time. And this is why I know that God really is like the most intelligent, because ain't no way he has this amount of knowledge, and ain't no way, going back to my science thing, we know so little. So why is it trusting in some doctor any more of a risk than putting faith in God when we're going to wake up in 50 years and we're going to discover that something we thought was absolutely fine now isn't, just like how we used to think tomatoes were poisonous, and now they're like the staple of so much food that we eat all over the world. Anyway, they sit down and he basically tries to talk about the story of how, Jacob, and I actually think he mixed up some stories because he was talking about how there was one passage of the scripture, because you guys know the story of Jacob, I've told it before, and anyways, you can go read it, it's in Genesis. And basically, Jacob wants to be with Rachel, and then Rachel's father, Laban, is like, sure, just work for me for this amount of time. And then he's like, I bet. And then he does. And then he comes back, and then Laban's like, nah, but low-key, you're going to have to marry Leah because I can't marry off my firstborn. Which, again, comes back to what I'm saying when there's a lacking of just like a lot of nuance and just like logical thinking when it comes to some of our customs and things as Christians that we do, or as believers, where it's like, subjugating your own daughter Leah, this is what I've been thinking about the story recently, subjugating your own daughter Leah to a life with a man who doesn't love her is cruel. Do you think a loving God would want to see that happen? No. And actually, when you hear a lot of stories in the Bible, it's even if you think of the prodigal son, a lot of times it's stories where God placed loving somebody and loving them well above whatever was the traditions and the religions and the customs, just like a lot of these Christian mums follow, right? With the prodigal son, because the way he received his son, he shouldn't have received him like that, because it was a shame for his son to have run off with his inheritance. So what he did wasn't what would have been accepted socially, and certainly not by people who believed in his same God. If he didn't mention if he was I think he was Jewish. And so everything he did is because his love for his own child was more important than keeping up appearances with everybody around. Like, this is what I mean when I say people just be knowing stuff. And then again, people be like, oh, the prodigal son. Oh, this evil. Yeah, you're the prodigal son. You're the prodigal son. We all are. Oh, when I get to heaven and I see Eve, you're Eve. You're Eve making selfish decisions at the expense of the people you claim to love. You're Eve. You're Eve. Oh, Rahab the prostitute. Oh my gosh, can you believe God helped a prostitute? What about your past before you put that ring on your finger and you're still wearing a white wedding dress, which is supposed to represent purity and virginity, mate? Right. Yeah, right. And so I'm like, okay. It's funny. These things make me laugh. And meanwhile, we're the ones also prostituting off with the other gods. Oh, when it suits us, oh, we're going to go and now I'm going to go and support this movement. And it's so funny how people take so much pride in like being a part of things to do with the world. It reminds me of this whole Christ is King movement. I want to hear what the Christ is Kingers are. Right, with all the stuff that's happening in the United States, which unfortunately I've been thinking more about because I got sent my electoral ballot, if you can imagine, and I just opened it and it's so cringe because there's got a little sticker. I gotta respect the spirit, okay? The dedication, the spirit, I gotta respect it. But in one of the pages, it's got a sticker, the I voted sticker, and I was just like, what the hell? And again, that's another debate with the Christians. Whenever it comes to voting, whether it's here, wherever it is, we're always voting for the lesser of two evils. When are we just going to vote good? When are we going to actually stop standing for any of the bad and actually grow some bollocks and backbone? Oh, wait, that doesn't serve the fact that we want to be accepted in society and seen as good and gracious. No, it doesn't fit that, does it? No, it doesn't. Because if we were all going to actually acknowledge the truth, we'd acknowledge that we need to get rid of all of them and we need to hit the reset. We need to get people into power around the world that are about 40 years younger, for starters, and have no affiliation, potential, whatever, with the likes of the Epsteins of it all. Because again, all these loving mothers and their moms and all of these whatevers. What about the kids in the underground tunnels? Oh wait, because that's not as cute as taking your little family photo up when you went to the beach during the summer and you made the nice little sandwiches and you froze the box drinks for your kids so they'd stay cold. And then you read them a Bible story every night before bed. That doesn't fit the aesthetic. Being out, like, you know, having something to say, calling other people out, and calling out the treatment of other children. I thought every child was our own child. So why don't we behave that way? Because if it was your kid who was in the underground tunnels, it was your kid, whatever, being stolen, whatever, you'd want all the mountains to move for your child. Yeah, this is why my kid's a scam. It's a scam. And again, what did God do? We talked about the Amalekites, yeah? Stories nobody wants to talk about. Talk about the Amalekites in the Bible. I did a whole series on it. Go and check it out. The only group that God was like, you need to annihilate all of them. Why? Why, you might ask? Because they are descendants of Esau. We talked about this. They're descendants of Esau. Then Esau now, obviously, famously sold his birthright. And then his brother goes on to take and steal his inheritance. The same Jacob we're talking about now, by the way, who ends up with Rachel and Leah and their two servants, who ends up having kids with all four of them. And that's where the 12 tribes of Israel plus Joseph come from. These four women. Right? So this is the angle this husband, by the way, was going for. And I was like, oh, of course. Because every time I talk about this story, I'm like, oh my gosh, Jacob's life was so hard. God was like, oh, you're going to, like, these women are arguing that, like, all of them need impregnating. Oh my gosh, it's the worst day of his life. That's why the way this woman's husband reacted, where he's just like, well, this is biblical. Like, this is biblical, in the same way that The Handmaid's Tale used the same scripture. And that's what made me laugh. I was like, not this passage again. And it's always funny which passages we love to talk about and which we don't. We don't talk about how cowardice is a sin. And in the book of Revelations, everyone's all like, the rapture. That was another one that the mums, I didn't know about this. I only found out about this just now. There were so many of these Christian women online talking about the rapture's coming next year, the rapture. Even though the Bible literally says over and over and over again, we know not the day nor the hour in which he will come. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're Christian in concept only. Like, you're Christian in concept only. You're Christian in uniform, in costume only, I should say. Costume. Costume's a better one. Christian in costume only. Right? Anyway. So the Amalekites, what they do, and it's proper loser behavior, is they coming into, when God frees the Israelites from Egypt, they're the only people to attack God, whilst God's people, after the whole world has just heard what happened in Egypt. And no one wants smoke with the Israelites. These Amalekites, yeah, they're still salty, and I feel like it was a generational curse. Because again, maybe before we want to be these cute couples and these cute families, we need to address our own demons. Because I'll tell you something. Oh, even science proves that our genetics carry behaviors. So I'm like, me thinking I did a little cute 10-week course, or I fasted one day, that might not be enough to tear certain things out from my bloodline. You know what I'm saying? That and maybe just because, and this is again why I say it's selfish, you refuse to deal with it, you sweep it under the carpet, you're a fraud, and then you just go and give birth to somebody that's got to deal with all of that. Like, this is why I'm like, I can only see selfish reasons for having children. And, you know, what was I saying? Where was I? The Amalekites were the only ones who actually attacked. So they came and attacked from behind, like losers, right? Rather than doing the thing you always see, you know, like I love when you see this in the movies and in history, it's normally like that, right? If you're going to fight someone, especially if you're going to go to war, you know, you fight like people with a bit of honor, you know, you attack from the front. If anything, you know, obviously if a war breaks out, you're not necessarily going to be like, hi guys, we're going to start a war in 5 business days. So I don't mean like that, but I mean like, and you go for the actual people, like, you know, running things and the leaders. You don't go for the stragglers, because that's what they did, the Amalekites. They killed the people at the back. So like the elderly, the pregnant women, the people that couldn't keep up while they're in their moment of weakness. And this is the group of people that God was like, take them out. Take them out. This is why every time I'm hearing all these, airy fairy Christianity, no wonder, right now, the people who are doing the worst things to children are living the life I wish I could be living, away from everybody, no one knowing who they are, with bucket loads of money, doing whatever they want every day, right? The Epsteins of it all, and all of these people, right? And again, what do the Christians say when you want to bring this stuff up? Well, it hasn't been proven, because we need to go to the world's justice system and go to the world's justice system for the world's justice system to tell us if this is true. Where's your discernment? Where's your discernment? What's different about you than the rest of the world and the other people of the world, other than just that you wear the costume really well? Listen, we can all play characters. I used to want to be an actress when I was a child, and then I realized I don't like pretending to be something that I'm not. So, you know, anyway, this is how God deals with things. When people, the Bible says, it's better you throw yourself in the sea with a millstone than to hurt one of these little ones. And then when it comes to the freaking people hurting the little ones, let's just be gracious. Let's just be gracious about, No. In the same way, Eve made a stupid mistake. That's what I'm saying. Who are we to call out Eve? We're all Eve, right? There's a serpent. God has said, if you eat from this tree, you shall surely die. Which, in fairness, he told to Adam, before he created Eve. And she's like, oh, the cute little serpent. Let's just talk to the... No. Kill the serpent. Because look at now we're all dealing with the consequences. And what we're going to say to God, I don't know, I just wanted to just hear this serpent out and just, you know, because I'm just such a kind and caring. Enough. Like, when are we actually going to be powerful women of God, and not just the aunties and the grandmas who say they spend 3 hours praying? I mean, actually out on the streets addressing things, not being the same ones shoving things under the carpet because you don't want to have to deal with this while you're going to buy the turkey for Christmas dinner, because all the family's coming over, and if you bring this up, it's going to cause a problem. So you just want your child that's being abused by a family member to shut up and smile like everybody else at the dinner table. This is why I can't stand being here, guys. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. This is what we're doing. Oh, but we care about the kids, and you know, I'm just so caring, and I'm just so this. Meanwhile, your version of caring is forcing the people around you to do things the way you think, because you're this deep woman of God and you wake up every day and read your Bible. What's the point? What was the point of reading the Bible? Because you didn't seem to learn anything of value. like I've been saying about the whole student loan thing, and even just this, oh my gosh, I got to send my child to get a good education. What? So that the devil's kingdom can tell your child what they're capable of. I thought you're supposed to speak life. I thought you're supposed to be a nurturer. I thought you're supposed to look after the kids and make sure that they believe in themselves. But no, we can repeatedly send children back into schools where people get bullied, where there's some random person, some teacher, some whoever with some kind of complex who loves to be there because they have an opportunity to dominate over somebody who can't fight back for themselves because they're pulling rank, because they're an adult and they're a child who's been told by their parents to listen to their teachers. You wonder why their spirits are broken. And you wonder why they're struggling. You're taking them to the world system to educate them. You're taking them to the world system to nurture them. Why? Why? This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Back to school. This is what it is. It's on social media. This, back to school. Come with me as I go back to school shopping for my family of 12,000. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Or you have the women, yeah? This is the one that got me, yeah? Especially if you've ever been to African churches, yeah? Guys, we need to pray. We pray that my child can get well, we call them Russell groups here, Russell Group universities. I pray that the government of this world will approve the prayers that I'm praying as I pray on my knees and as I fast for my child, and make sure to let every single person, from my colleagues to my next door neighbor to the poor old girl who works at the bakery that I go to in the morning to buy my coffee, that I have been praying and fasting for my child to get a loan, which again goes against what the Bible says, because the Bible says, number one, that you should set up an inheritance for your children. A good man sets up an inheritance for his children's children. And it also says, better to be the borrower than the lender. We're not even supposed to borrow, but you're here praying and fasting, right? And then you can get to church and be like, my son's a doctor. Meanwhile, your son's not going to have a life. Meanwhile, your son's going to be working 12 to 15 hours a day. And not just because those are doctor's hours. A lot of them is because they have to pay off the bills that they got there. They're going to be overworked, and all they're ever doing at work, all they're ever doing is work, right? You're still going to expect them to have grandchildren as a doctor or a lawyer, right? Oh, I did so well for their education. Also what? So you can get a bit of kudos over a cup of tea after the church service before the women's brunch. Oh my gosh. I actually can't believe I've had to be born here. I can't believe it. Like, I actually can't be asked. Like, I can't be asked, you guys. I can't be asked. What is this? What is this? What is this? And do you know what gets me? Yeah, it's because these are the women, yeah, who love the unsolicited dating advice. And I'm like, woman, your husband looks like he wants to kill himself. Your children don't look like they like you. Matter of fact, your husband's on Grindr. And I'm going to keep bringing this up. I'm going to keep bringing this up because it's so funny to me that you're supposed to be the beacon, the lighthouse, the example, right? And it's no wonder Christianity is taken for a joke. That's what I'm talking about here, guys. It's not doing us any favors, not calling things for what they really are. It's not doing us any favors. And then you want to come and talk to me talking about, now I know you're a young woman, and I know that things can be tempting. And I'm like, actually, it's not that tempting. I'm really smelling the presence of God anywhere. I don't know what I'm supposed to be being tempted so much by. I had this conversation with a woman like in her 50s last year. Yeah. It was really funny. And we were talking about, I was telling her, like, you know, and this is what they always do. Oh, I really like this person, me saying that. Well, make sure you don't you wait to have sex until marriage. And meanwhile, let's not forget that a lot of them are hypocrites anyway. Yeah, on that front. But nevertheless, and some of them probably secretly use the old school freaking hanger method, as much as I hate to say it. But it's like, is there nothing else you have to say as an older woman to me about this? Like, is there no like, oh, you know what? You know, here's some advice, like just general advice or interesting stories or things you wish you'd been told. It's always straight to the fornication. Don't you fornicate. Okay, dude, chillax. Like, chillax. Actually chill. And that's why I don't like it either, because I'm like, it's like I've said to you guys, I feel like Christians are the ones who talk about things in relation to sexual immorality more than other people do. It's really strange. Like, and I've said this, the same thing with dating, right? You go and tell somebody else, oh, I met somebody I really like. Oh, tell me more about him. Tell me, you know what I mean? Oh, that's so much fun. I remember being young and having you know? You go to Christians, it's like, I hope you're not wearing that outfit in front of a man. You might cause him to stumble. You might stumble. If I don't laugh, guys, this actually will depress me, this stuff. You're going to cause a man to stumble. How dare you show a kneecap in the presence of God? How dare you come with an ankle to bow before the Lord? You know what I mean? And it's like, and I want love. Have a day off, like actually have a day off. That's how I feel like. And where do you have so much energy to be so invested? Like, because that was the other thing with being around Christian women. Yeah, some, not all. They're so invested in certain strange things where I'm just like, and some of them, you know what it is, especially being a young woman, and I can actually see it. They're jealous. Like, can we call it for what it is? Can we call it for what it is? Because deep down they're hiding, and this is why I don't like it. Deep down, a lot of them are hiding how they really think and how they really feel because they're trying to keep up this costume and this facade. So when we all go out into the world, right, I'm toxic, I'm a red flag, I'm a heathen, I'm a deviant, you know, all of this. Cool with that. Because then, as far as I'm concerned, I like to give people the worst possible impression, so it's only up from here. And then they're going around and they're like dancing around, you know, probably in a summer dress, gallivanting and hip-hopping, you know, and jeting outside their houses with a basket full of freshly baked muffins that they're going to bring to the neighbors who probably just want to be left the hell alone, by the way. Sometimes it is nice, don't get me wrong. And it always be these ones. It's like I say about men, it's always that too. The ones who try to do the goody good are always the ones with some kind of built up internal anger. Some kind of built up, and eventually it surfaces, because I see this happen where, right, I don't really use bad language, right, but every now and then I have, and I'm not going to try and be the goody good, and I always do this perfectly, and this is why I purposely tell you guys about things that I do that I know I definitely shouldn't be doing, and the Lord would prefer I wasn't doing. But what I don't do is do what some people do, which is either hide and pretend everything's rosy and perfect, but I also don't go on the other side of justifying things and trying to find biblical justifications for things God obviously isn't happy about. You know what I'm saying? But it always makes me laugh when a lot of these Christian mums get backed into a corner that they get annoyed about something, but they've actually reached their threshold. Because whereas you have somebody like me who'll be like, look, I need to go out, go for a walk, get my thoughts off my chest. I'm outside, you know what I mean? I'm on my legs. I'm decompressing. I'm not pretending that these aren't my feelings. I'm trying to address them. I'm trying to address them every day. You see these people, right, lose their temper, and all of a sudden, they're the ones with knowing more bad language. All of a sudden, they're the ones who know a lot of bad language. They're the ones who start saying some pretty wild things. Sometimes they even say stuff I never heard of. And I'm talking about people I've met, like people I've known in life. Because you guys know, I grew up as a PK, which honestly, it was more of a burden in name than it was an experience. Because when I was about, I don't know. Okay, that's still a while. About 15 or 16 is when we stopped doing church. And then ever since then, the rest of my experiences have been outside from being a pastor's kid, but just also being an adult, moving out, traveling, you know, and stuff like that. So I just had a lot of experiences, and I've also worked with companies, in companies that work with churches. So I've been to a lot of types of churches. Yeah, it's shocking what these people all of a sudden know about and how weird they behave. Like there was this girl who told a story, this Mormon girl, and I was like, low-key, this is something that would happen to me, right? Like, and it reminds me again of, like I'm saying, these Christian goody good. Yeah, I'm like, not so goody good after all, because how do you even know what that is? So here's what happened. This girl, I can't remember her name, she goes on to, she's at school, and her friends, she's getting told by the older women, like she can't, why she like enjoy dancing? Because again, when you enjoy something that maybe they feel insecure about, or they don't get the chance to do, then the reason why they're angry at you isn't because they're angry at the supposed sin. They are offended that you feel so confident doing that. And dance is one of them things where people do look at you like, where did you get the confidence? And it's like, you know what, some of us just do things we enjoy, and also some of us have just learned not to care. And because of people like you, who are the ones that everybody looks up to, and you're the ones who are the green flags, and we're already seen as the problem, we kind of just don't need to keep up any appearances or anything. Now we just have fun with life, you know. And so there was this girl, and she talked about how she loved to dance, and like you could see from her, there's nothing wrong with her. Like there was nothing wrong with what she was doing. But anyways, at school, her and her friend, they did like this hip hop routine, she was saying, and they were wearing these like baseball jerseys. And this is what happened on hers, and this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. On hers, it had the number 69 on it, right? Now, she didn't know what they was talking about. And if I was in her position, I can't tell you how many times a so-called Christian person has said or mentioned something I didn't know about, right? But then I'm the one who's expected to be doing these things. But anyway. And so what happens is, because you're not allowed to wear certain clothing at Mormon churches or whatever, she then gets whisked off stage or whatever and told to take this shirt off, and then given this other baggy shirt, which the shirt she was wearing, it was a costume. Her and her friend had just randomly bought it at a shop, and they just thought these will look cool, these will look on brand for the vibe that they were going for. She had her other clothes that she was wearing the rest of the day. So she was saying to the teachers, like, why can't I just wear another thing? And this is what I mean when I say these people are weirdos, some of them. She didn't have to know what was going on. And I bet you, right, because this is a long time ago. Nowadays, everybody's on social media. So the things I hear kids talking about, I'm like, I don't even know what that is. But anyway, she could have just asked her to change. Because now you've got to also explain to this kid why what she's doing, there's something wrong with it, which there actually isn't. Because if even when she said the story, I highly doubt I would have noticed anything at all or thought anything, even as an adult. And the only time I would have clocked is there would have been some teenager who starts laughing, okay? And then I would have been like, what's so funny? What's so funny? And then it would have clicked, right? Because again, some of us don't keep our heads in the gutter. Some of us, like right now, I'm going to go inside. I'm going to be gaming. I'm going to be playing games. I'm going to be watching silly videos. And that's what I'm doing for the evening, you know? Reminds me of like the Christian girlies who are like, get ready with me. And they're doing all their like getting dressed videos, and they're all in their underwear, or even the Christian guys who are like being strong for God, and they're all like flexing their muscles and all this. And, or even the other extreme, the African aunties in some of those clothes. You want to talk to me about me wearing a tracksuit to church? Meanwhile, I can nearly see your damn near nipples with how low that cleavage is. If you bend any further to bend them knees, that slit at the back of your skirt is going to go rip right all the way up to the crack. And you have something to say about how I'm dressed. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So when she told this story, anyway, she got into loads of trouble. And obviously being girls, whenever you wear those kinds of things, it's kind of like a shaming ritual, let's be honest. It's really like, and there's a lot of the shame aspect, because you see that as well when you see like the women of church, right, who come up to you and they're like, I haven't seen you in church for a while, you know, you really got to get back to God. And the thing that gets to me about these types of women, is I'm really getting all my thoughts off my chest, is they always talk to you with the assumption that because you don't look like, or you don't do things the way they approve of, you must be the one who needs to listen to them. Now, listen, I'm all for older people giving me wisdom. In fact, if more older people would do that rather than villainizing me and my generation, we'd actually be getting help. Because thank God for God, because he's the only person who seems, or one of the few people who seems to talk to me with genuine grace and actually want to see me win rather than hope to see me trip up to have something to say about it. Because like I said, had I got pregnant at church, oh Lord, as a pastor's daughter, oh my gosh. And the thing is, people then whisper, because I've seen it happen a couple of times. And again, a lot of times it's the ones that's least expected. This happened at one of the churches local to here. One of these girls, she was there, she was shy, she was quiet. Yeah, but you weren't that quiet on that fateful night, were you? No, because look at you now. Look at you now. And now she's pregnant. But of course, everybody acted weird. And I'm like, guys, let's just stop making a big deal out of everything. Okay, she got pregnant. People have sex. That's how we all got here. Move on. Like, this is how I feel about these types of things. What about, okay, this is where we're at. How are we going to help her? How are we going to get behind her? How are we going to make sure she still feels comfortable at church? The place she should feel the safest to go. And that's what's crazy about these kinds of people. Because I promise you, if the women of the church behaved like the girls in the toilets at the clubs, you know, when you go to the toilet, like this is one thing I love. And I do love it about Essex as well, because the Essex girls are so funny, right? And I used to go out, and I'm out here, and you know, you go into the toilets, and this is why for a lot of us, this whole issue of biological men being allowed in the toilets is unheard of, because this happened to me when I was in London. I'm in the toilet and I'm thinking, this is a safe space for us as women, right? So my fingers were frozen because I've been recording all day and you guys saw the first part of that video. I go into the bathroom. I actually tell this story. I really need to just sit and edit that video for flip's sake. I go into the toilets and I haven't realized that these are not just female toilets, okay? I've walked in there, there's another lady, and I just said to the lady, I was like, oh, excuse me, do you mind like undoing the button of like my jeans, right? Because that's something you would do in the girls' toilets, right? Do you mind unbuttoning my shirt? My hands are frozen. I knew I'd be able to like, after I wash my hands, I'll be able to do the button back up myself. So she was like, oh yeah, sure. So just a quick little boop. And then I go back in and then I come out of the toilet and I realized there was a man in like 2 cubicles down. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this. This is not what I remember, because when I used to go out, it was like your safe haven. You go in the toilets, someone's helping you with your hair, somebody's helping you with your makeup, somebody's got like, oh, can I borrow your spray quickly? Oh, I really love your lip gloss. Where did you get that? Oh, guys, can somebody book me a cab? I've just had this really strange interaction with this guy. Can one of you guys come with me? People are vomiting and their friends are holding their hair. There's the freaking women selling stuff. Like, everybody's banding in together. We're talking. People are debriefing. Is everything okay? Are you all right? There's no judgment. And everybody wants to swoop in to like help you, even if you're in a situation that's not ideal, rather than kicking you while you're down, right? Because you're not like everybody else on your high horse of self-righteousness. This is the energy Christians need to develop in general. The one where, like I said, you're going to the toilet and it's just like, you might just be there to use the toilet. You might be there to have a conversation. You might be there because, has any of you noticed such and such and such and such? I'm a bit worried about this. Or you're just like having a quick debrief. Or you're just being really nice. Oh my gosh, babe, I love your, like, I love your heels. Where'd you get your heels from? You know, little things like that. It's so uplifting going in there. Like, it's honestly more fun than being out, because it's just all the gossip. Everybody's helping each other out and it's just a safe space. Like, it's one of the few places I've ever felt like in actual life where you actually there's not all this pressure to like somehow know everything and be perfect. And that where like, if there's something going wrong with you, the first thing people do is jump to help, not judge, not kick you while you're down, but like do anything to actually help you. Like, babe, you'll see one girl to meets another girl, takes her, like, I'm going to go and grab you some water. We're going to book you a cab, you know, all this stuff. Or even just crying. Like, I had this similar situation when I was in London again. When I just went, where I'd started crying and I was just standing I was going down into the tube on the thingy and I was trying really hard to hold my emotions in until I was somewhere safe enough to cry. And these tears just started streaming down my face and I couldn't hold it in, and I'd been crying all day because I ended up crying all day for reasons I'm not going to get into. And then these 2 nice girls just came over and they were like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Like, and they were probably about my age and they were just hugging me and we just had a little heart to heart. It's really nice. It's really nice. Meanwhile, why am I in London? I'm trying to hide away from anyone, go somewhere where I can just be like safe alone with my emotions and like not somehow say something wrong. And, you know, you get the gist of what I'm trying to say here about like how we call ourselves these Christians and we say we're doing all this stuff to the glory of God and for the help of others. But a lot of times we're not glorifying God, or we're picking and choosing where we do and justifying it when it's convenient and turning a blind eye when it's convenient, right? Because again, if we were a fighting force in the world, we wouldn't have to be dealing with people using the name of the Lord as a slur. You've got people, Black Christians, are fighting harder about the word nigger and whether you said it with the A or the ER, then you have an issue with hearing somebody use the name of Christ in a horrible way. That's insane to me. Because that is something that actually bothers me. I actually feel like a little twinge in my ears when people say stuff like that, especially if it's like really said in a really aggressive and just really ugly way. I'm like, whoa, those words next to the names of Jesus or to Jesus Christ or next to the word of God, whatever. That's hurting my spirit. It's like a hit to the spirit of like, whoa, like, you know, but you don't say anything about that. You don't say anything about that bringing glory. Don't say anything. I'm not seeing all these Facebook groups of mums coming together, mums for Epstein victims or something. Christian mums for Epstein victims. No, I'm not. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing you realizing maybe I need to shift my entire life if where my child is at school right now, they're going through severe issues, rather than turn a blind eye or just, you know, whatever. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing you investing in actually being nurturers outside of just, oh, I like to make you good meals and this, like being proactive in your child's future. like in their purpose in life. That's why none of us know our purpose, because no one's talking about it, because we're living on the world system where you go to a building with adults you've never met in a system you had no part in producing, that clearly hasn't been producing well because of the state of the world, and you're waiting for the devil's education system to tell your child who they can become. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the Lord constantly reminding me every time I was told I can't do something that I can. Throughout my entire life, from when I was at school, I said this, from when I was at school when I was 11 years old, all throughout, even at university, people are like, there's no way you can do this. Even how I ended up studying chemistry, they're like, we don't think you're going to be able to do this. Everyone's telling me that I can't. So if I had lived like the world and I had listened to the voices of the so-called trusted people that in the same churches where I'm standing up on Sunday before the exams so that we can all pray for everybody with exams this week, I wouldn't have been where I've never achieved the things I did. And it was always me alone with God somewhere, and me feeling like I couldn't do it, and God being like, you can do this. You can do this. Like, you can do this. And him giving me that, like, nudge to be able to do stuff. When other people are questioning me or questioning my validity or questioning, even still, it's crazy the things that people will say. I remember this Christian woman I was telling, and she was a Christian mum who I actually was excited to tell. I thought she'd be happy for me. I was telling her, I'm in London because I was doing so many different jobs, because I was just trying to get as much experience in as many fields for the very reasons of what I'm saying now, because then I feel like when you have experience in different areas, you then start to have a perspective you never had. And that's why a lot of people struggle in life to achieve what they want to, because you haven't invested in putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, which, by the way, is like the foundations of love and self-love and love of Christ itself. The idea that God would come and live as a human. This is why I'm like, what are we doing in churches? Anyway, so I've told this woman, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I've been working doing media consultancy, because I was. And then she's like, well, why are you, what makes you qualified to do that? Excuse me. I thought the Christian women were supposed to speak life. And now you're hitting me with a sassy comment. And I'm even telling you because I'm excited about it, thinking, oh, be nice. This is how I've come to these conclusions, by the way. Some of it is stuff I've seen on social media. Some of it is stuff I've observed for other people. And some of it is things I've experienced, my physical self, where I'm just like, I don't think this is the version of us that God was planning, that the God really wanted. I'm not the person who gets to decide that, but I can give my opinion. And that's another thing. Sometimes it's okay to give your opinion without making it saying that, God is the one who's this and you're doing this. Sometimes it's just your way of doing things. Like I said, with the contraception argument and whatever, it's easy for me to say, I don't want to do it because I have my own reasons. That doesn't make me the expert to tell anybody else whether they should or they shouldn't. And it also doesn't give me the right to judge, in the same way that just because I don't do one sin, that doesn't give me the right to sit on my high horse about somebody else's other sin because I don't do it. That's again selfish, because of course it'd be easier for me to be like, haha, and you, like, that's like the LGBTQ plus thing. It's a perfect example of a topic where Christians sit on their high horse. And I'm like, look, mate, I've realized over the years, because I've really thought about it, like, maybe I don't want to write it off. Am I just trying to tell myself what I want to hear? Well, I'm very much heterosexual, but guess what? I'm not losing sleep over somebody that's not. I'm losing sleep over the idea that somebody else is suffering in any capacity, and it's my job to love them, not to start playing the judge and jury of deciding under what time frame and what decision somebody has to make, because it's not my place. And if it is ever my place, the Lord will be the one to take me there, and the Lord will give me the tools to deal with the situation properly. But again, it's like I said, it's the topics we pick and choose that we talk about, and it's the ones that we don't pick and choose that we talk about as Christians. The same scriptures, same Bible, same Bible, by the way. And there will be the same people, will be the same women. Oh yeah, I've read the Bible again. Me and my women's Bible study, we just did another full year of the Bible. What was the point? What was the point? Because you still have the same issues you had this time last year, and you still haven't learned nothing. And this is why, guys, and I'm going to say this in closing, this is why it benefits you in life to not be the acceptable version of something sometimes. Because then you don't get to live in the delusion yourself either, because you don't even have the choice. Because I get it. A lot of these people, a lot of these women, they're enabled. Everybody around them enables their behavior and makes excuses on their behalf. They're tolerated by their churches, by their family members, their friends. A lot of people will just suffer in silence around them whilst finding them insufferable. And the thing that upsets me the most, and this is probably why I'm so passionate about it, and it's what annoys me when I hear people talk about how they walked away from the faith, is people will walk away from God because of what the church did, but it's actually the church people. But you won't walk away from those church people. You'll still go and be around those toxic people. You'll still go and tolerate the things that they're doing. And somehow the only person you cut out from the picture was God, when God wasn't even doing it. And a lot of what they're doing is hypocritical towards God. So that's, again, another choice where it's like, so really, God is the one who really suffers, if anything, from being just cut out. Because you'll still sit around and tolerate them just so that we can all play happy families and happy church days. Just so we can all pretend everything's fine, and you'll still show up and bite your tongue. But then you go and blame God for it. I don't get that. I don't get it. And I think it's because, as I've said many times, I've been in so many situations where I've been treated a certain way from people who didn't even bother to give me the chance to explain myself, or never came to me at all, or didn't do their research, right, for themselves. Because this is how my channel started. I was like, Britney Spears' parents were going around saying, oh yeah, we're praying to God. Listen, if it says in the Bible, they literally displayed the behavior the Bible talks against. The Bible tells us what his people should be like. So if you haven't even checked the Bible, and you haven't even looked into it for yourself, and you haven't even seen the hypocrisies, then how are you blaming God? Like, this is why I feel for him massively, because I'm just like, that must suck to have that happen with literally billions of people over thousands of years, right? Where they just, right, and this is what I'm saying again, it's the enabling. They get away with it because everybody just allows it. So there's a part of me that's like, well, can we blame them? Because like I've learned, I've said this before, a lot of the positive changes that have happened to me in my life, even though it's been traumatizing, is because from being highly criticized. By being heavily criticized and always trying to raise the bar because it's never good enough. And it's actually worked out for me, because then I've actually spent a lot of time actually trying to do better and try to be better and be more self-aware. So if anything, everybody did me a favor who did that. And these people, it's like, mate, it doesn't help anyone. This is what I'm saying, guys. It doesn't help any of us in society to tolerate any of this. And especially doesn't help us as Christians, because whether anybody has the bollocks to say it to us or not, it's affecting people behind the scenes, and they're just not saying a lot about it. That's why some of us are sounding the alarm bells, at the risk of being up for the slaughter now by the jury of the same sheeple who are having to deal with this stuff and who know what I'm saying is true. But it's just, oh my gosh, God forbid, I'm not the gracious, lovely woman of God who never rocks the boat. Anyways, guys, what kind of an animal is that? Life's a game that's played to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And check out part 1 as well. Goodbye.